Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Psych Talk. Today, I will talk about existential therapy, finding freedom and meaning through existential therapy, and what basically consists of. So, existential therapy is a powerful approach that is rooted in the belief that we are free to make choices in life, even in the most difficult of circumstances. So obviously we cannot choose our circumstances, we cannot choose our parents, we cannot choose where we're born into, but we can choose our attitude towards what happens to us. We can make choices, multiple choices, and we can decide our path in life depending on the way we see our circumstances and the way we see the unfortunate things that happen in our life. So, this theory is inspired by Viktor Frankl, and basically, he's inspired by his experiences. And basically, what he wants to emphasize is the search for meaning, personal responsibility, and the importance of facing life's challenges with authenticity. So, Viktor Frankl, he was a Holocaust survivor, and he also founded logotherapy, which is basically centered on the belief that the primary drive in human beings is to find meaning in life. And basically, he experienced the harsh realities of human suffering during his time in Nazi camps. And instead of succumbing to despair, he found profound truths about the human condition. So Frankl believed that no matter the circumstances, even when everything is taken from us, we still retain one essential freedom, the freedom to choose our attitude. And he once said, quote, oh, I think I stopped recording. No, I didn't. The last of human freedoms is to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. What I love most about this therapy is about taking accountability and responsibility for your own action and actually seeing yourself and as someone who has agency and control over your own life. Because the problem with nowadays in this modern society is that the media or people, um, political figures, they want to make you think that if you're born in certain specific circumstances, you have no agency whatsoever, no freedom, no choices, and that you just have to live in a certain way uh, based on what happens to you in life, right? So you're just basically a ball in a pool game, just getting hit without actually having agency to choose your path. On the contrary, though, what this existential therapy does is that it teaches you that you actually have choice in any given circumstance, but sometimes you cannot see those choices because obviously, if something bad happens to you, your amygdala gets triggered, and you just see black and white, like you just see red. You can't think logically and critically, and you just think, yeah, I have no choices, this is what I have to do, and that's it. But in reality, we all have multiple choices in any given circumstance, and sometimes when we make mistakes, we just have to take accountability and responsibility and accept, okay, we made this mistake, we learn from this mistake, and we move on instead of blaming others. That's the problem. If we keep blaming others and not taking accountability for our actions, we not only deprive ourselves of agency, but also of authenticity. And so Frankl's perspective is one of the core ideas in existential therapy. The life has meaning under all conditions, and that we're free to find that meaning. And so this type of therapy invites us to explore critical life themes such as morality, freedom, responsibility, anxiety, and even our aloneness. And when clients engage in this type of therapy, they are asked to reflect on their lives and confront the choices they've made, or perhaps the ones they have avoided making. And Frankl, one of his quotes was, "He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how." And so this idea aligns with existential therapy's goal, which is to help people search for their why and take ownership of their freedom and choices. And so the process of existential therapy encourages clients to acknowledge their role in shaping their own lives and that we're not victims of circumstance. Instead, we create the pathways we follow. And once we recognize how we have surrendered control and passively accepted our situation, we begin the journey of reclaiming our power. So it's about making conscious, deliberate choices to live a life of purpose, even in the face of uncertainty and anxiety. And I think society wants you to think the opposite. Society wants you to think that sometimes you can just go up the ladder because that's how it works, and you have literally there's no way for you in this life to be successful. That's what society wants you to think, or at least that's what I'm seeing nowadays. Okay, so basically, this approach also asks us to take responsibility for our actions, something that can be challenging for many, obviously. But as existentialists, like Nietzsche argued, we're not merely rational beings, but also creatures of will. So our freedom is intertwined with responsibility. And yes, that freedom can be intimidating, so much so that people often find excuses or reasons to avoid it. So Frankl saw this when he treated post-war Europeans, many of whom struggled with existential crisis, feeling isolated and disconnected after the devastation of World War II. And existential therapy helps clients recognize these hidden fears and excuses, and it guides them toward authenticity, asking them to make choices that reflect who they truly are rather than being shaped solely by past conditioning or external expectations. And as we begin to live more authentically, we start creating a meaningful existence based on our values rather than drifting through life. And in therapy, the focus is not on endlessly talking about past traumas, but on making new discoveries about oneself in the present moment. So, clients are encouraged to engage in life more fully and honestly, facing anxiety head on while acting with a sense of purpose and ownership. And as existential therapists often emphasize, to choose is to commit, and this commitment is part of what makes life meaningful. And if you have ever found yourself feeling stuck, lost, or struggling to make sense of life's challenges, existential therapy could be a transformative approach. So, by embracing our freedom, accepting responsibility, and committing to our choices, we can create a life that is both meaningful and authentic. For example, imagine someone facing a severe illness or a personal loss. While they may not have control over the event itself, they can choose how to interpret and respond to it, whether with despair or with resilience. And this helps people recognize this inner freedom, empowering them to make choices that reflect their values and sense of meaning. And this is the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed existential therapy and that you also challenge yourself in the way you see the world, your perspective, and that you take accountability for your actions and stop blaming other people for your choices and the results of your choices. But by taking accountability, you can actually make better choices, learn from your mistakes, and move forward.